get this party started. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Joe Martinez. This is our Thursday morning production call. And man, we got a good one lined up for y'all. We're keeping it simple and bigger APV. Who doesn't want more APV, Amber? And who doesn't want to keep it simple? Although I can't say that. I think some people don't like to keep it simple. Overcomplicators. But we're going to give y'all some really good tips on how to keep it simple. If I do get choppy, I got my fine folks here that are going to jump in. So excuse my internets today, but we're going. A couple of things before we get started. One, this is an hour-long call. I want to make sure you get everything you can out of this. Last thing I want y'all to do is spend an hour of your day and not get anything out of it. What do I mean by that? You should have a pen and paper. This should be a non-negotiable in front of you if you are on this call. Because if you don't, just get off the call. I promise you, it's too much information to remember. You ain't going to be able to do that. And then the biggest thing I love to tell everyone is do not go change your entire appointment, okay? Y'all are helping families right now currently. That is not what we're trying to do, get you to redo everything. Just a great tip is take your notes and then pick 2 or 3 things, and that's it. No more than that. And go apply it to your business. Be like, hey, you know what? I'm not doing that part, or I'm not doing this, right? Let me focus on that. And that way, right, you're just adding and helping more families. Do not try to go revamp your entire appointment. And then what we humbly ask, we do learn together as a big organization here. And so what we ask, if any of the tips that you learned today are helping you help more families, if y'all can post that in band and what it was, it really does help other agents, right, apply it to their business. That way we're getting better together as an organization. So that's our humble ask. But we will get started. Again, right, the topics today are keeping it simple and bigger APV. The keeping it simple, I think, is so easily forgotten. Just because we want to be good at our craft, right? And there's a couple of problems with that. One is you won't get started because you're too busy trying to get good at this, right? Or you won't move fast enough because you're trying to get good at this, right? Or you're just going to overthink, right? Or overplan, right? And not move fast enough. So I love to talk about keeping it simple, right? Look, there's different types of people. I was blessed with being a chaotic person, right? Like I'm jump first, figure it out later, right? 90% of y'all are not, right? Y'all want to know products. Y'all want to know what to say, how to do it, right? Everything. And the best analogy I can give everyone, it's still like riding a bike, okay? You can watch all you want. You can watch somebody riding it all you want. You can read a book. There's even books. There's YouTube videos, right? You can hop in a Zoom room and watch us doing it. You will not ever ride that bike until you jump on it yourself, okay? You have to get on it and start pedaling. That is the only way you are going to move, right? So it's so important for you to understand that, because you will be, right, paralysis by analysis, right? You're going to get stuck there just trying to figure it out and make sure it's the right thing. I promise you, right? There is no better trainer than yourself actually doing what you need to be doing. So I want to hit on that a little bit, right? Just because a couple of things of keeping it simple. As y'all start booking appointments and moving forward, one of the most common things that we watch an agent do is run an appointment or two, bomb it. Perfectly normal. I bombed my first appointment. My first appointment, Amber, was all over the place. And it was in person. Imagine how embarrassing it was in person. I had to pivot. I had to call Steve Devine. I was like, they all of a sudden became diabetic on insulin, and I had them prep for it went south really fast. Right? But it's okay. Guess what? That is so normal. I love when I hear an agent say, and I love problems, because if you're running into problems, that means we have something, we're able to work on your business, right? So I love when an agent calls me and they're like, man, I never get a perfect appointment, because that's a huge learning point for you. Guess what? None of them are perfect. That doesn't exist. They're all going to tell you something random. Something's going to happen. The internet's going to go down. The client's going to become, diabetic on insulin all of a sudden. On Wednesday, she was perfectly healthy. Amber, I started with term 100 to cover the full mortgage. She got instantly declined, went to Mutual of Omaha, not favorable, went to SBLI. And the good thing is SBLI tells me a little bit of information. She's like, no, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm like, really? Well, this says 3 years ago, right? You were diagnosed with a blood disease. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Right? Like you have to be able to, there is no such thing as a perfect appointment. And if you're waiting to be able to run a perfect appointment, good luck. Right? Because what I fell in love with Symmetry system is you get to earn as you learn. Right? And the only way you can do that is you gotta be working, right? And you got to be running appointments. So one of the biggest lessons I love to teach an agent, right, is you don't need to wait, right? You don't have an appointment problem, right? Like inside of it, everyone's like, hey, can you help coach me? Can you listen to me running an appointment for an hour? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen to an hour of you trying to run the script. Like, hey, good luck. Like, it ain't hard. You read it, and then they say yes or no. Right? Like, there is no science to it. Like, read the script, right? Like, that's all it really is. And so many folks are like, man, well, I could have said this and I could have overcome that, or man, I messed up and I didn't know I could have pushed the date. I'm like, look, all that's great. It really is, right? But at the end of the day, you don't have an appointment running problem. You usually have an appointment problem. And what I mean by that is you just don't have the numbers to go help a family. And I think we forget that so often. Because I know I still do, right? Like it's so easy on a Monday and a Tuesday for me to get down because I had 11, 12 appointments both of those days, and I still haven't written an app, right? But when I look at my numbers, I've only sat with like 5 or 6 between those 2 days, right? Like I don't have an appointment. I didn't do anything wrong, right? Can I get better in appointment? Absolutely. Can you improve? Yes. But you don't have it's not fair to judge your numbers if you don't have the sits.
And there's
I think that's where
there's nothing to improve on if you don't have families to sit with to improve your craft. Right?
Yeah, right. Like you won't have it's like not riding the bike, right? Like, oh man, I got on the bike and I fell. So I'm gonna work on this bike riding, but I'm not gonna get on it again. I'm gonna wait. Right? Like think about what you're doing to your business, right? Because you got to have the practice. And the only way you get better is doing it more and more and more. Right? And one of the numbers, right, we love to remind everyone, right, is what am I going for today? Right? I'm trying to get to 6 booked appointments for tomorrow. Right? And that's the simplicity. Look, we preach these numbers to y'all because they're the only thing that matters. That's how simple this business is, right? Like so many agents call me, they're like, oh my God, Joe, you're really good. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just really consistent, right? Like if you look at my schedule, I can go back months and almost every day that I'm working in production, I have 6 booked appointments or more, right? Like the odds are just, I'm keeping it simple. I'm not trying to worry about did I do a really good job or man, I messed up on the script because I got nervous and they threw me off because they threw it right. The husband walked out and then this happened and I'm not, they jumped in the appointment, Amber, and they're like, well, what is this again? Life? No, yeah, I don't want that. I don't care. The numbers are on my side. I keep it so simple. It doesn't matter what happens in my appointment. I am going to get applications in APV every single week because I keep it so simple. And if y'all are not hearing this is what you're missing. It's you need 6 appointments tomorrow. And if you don't have
the key being tomorrow, do you want to extend your learning curve throughout the week, or do you want to have those 6 appointments booked for tomorrow? That way you can do 6 for the next day. Because if it takes you 3 weeks to get to your 4 to 6 sits, it's going to take you 3 weeks to actually get an app. So if you want to learn quick and learn hard, do it as quick as possible. 6 for next day, you'll have 2 sits. keep doing that.
Yeah. And fall in love with wherever you're at, right? Because I want y'all to understand, if you're part-time, if your schedule's busy, right? Like just know your numbers, right? But these are the numbers, right? I'm giving them to you as a day and as a week as a full-time agent. But right, if your schedule, right, makes you stretch that out, just know your numbers. You're not, it's amazing, Amber, of how many agents are like, I'm doing bad. I'm like, yeah, let me see. I count. Like, nope, your results are exactly as mine, right? Like yours is just stretched in a 2-week period, which what I do in a day. Right. And just fall in love with the numbers, right? Wherever you're at or whatever you need, know those. And again, tomorrow, right? Tomorrow you got to have 6 appointments. And I preach this so much because if not, the odds are not on your side, right? Because if you have 6 appointments, I love to tell everyone this so many times. I hope y'all get it. If you have 6 appointments for tomorrow, and we have a 30 to 40% show rate. If you got a higher one, you're even better than me. But I average a 30 to 40% show rate. That means I'm going to sit with 2 out of my 6 booked appointments. And then we have a 50% close rate. That means I can maybe help 1 family today, right? And here's the cool part. I'll write 2 to 4 applications in the home. Who doesn't want 4 apps in a day, right? I'm not anything special. But here's the thing. Look how many fingers I have up only with 6 appointments booked for tomorrow, right? For the day. Here's the problem. If I book 5, if I have 4, this number goes away. So don't be surprised when you have no apps. The numbers are just not on your side. It's literally, right now you're playing the lottery. Right? How many have won in the lottery? I haven't.
No.
Like you're playing the lottery if you don't have those numbers on your side. I'm giving y'all the facts here. Right.
And you start stretching those numbers.
Yeah. You stretch those numbers. And then, so listen to this next fact. It takes 4 to 6 sits. That means you got to sit with 4 to 6 families before you get an application. That's also a statistic. Y'all have to fall in love with that, right? So on Tuesday this past week, when I had only sat with 5, I wasn't upset that I didn't have an application. I just hadn't put in the numbers, right? Even though I had, I think, almost 20 booked appointments in those 2 days. I had only sat with 5, right? And here's the crazy part. Wednesday showed up and I got to my 7th appointment and I wrote 2 apps for almost $3,000. Ta-da!
And I think that's important too, right, Joe? Like, yes, the 4 to 6 sits is what's going to get you to your next app, but don't focus only on that. It might take you 8 sits, but then you'll get 3 apps.
Yeah, the numbers, right? It's never the first set either, right? So don't think, oh, on the 4th to 6th when I should have had an app. No, right? It's the law of large numbers. That means when you're divided of the large numbers, that's where you get those.
Yeah, that's literally what happened to me on Monday. Monday, I had like 9 appointments, rescheduled, no show, told me, hey, I'm not interested. So I shot a blank on Monday. Tuesday, I just made sure I had, I think, 7 or 8 appointments, and I wrote 1 app. Then Wednesday, I wrote 1. I wrote some more apps as well. Yesterday, I had 11. I had 4, like 2 just canceled, told me they weren't interested. So I get those 2 emailed before you go, you know what, I looked into this. I just don't want anything, 2 rescheduled. I sat with 4, wrote 5 apps. So that it just balances out. Now I'm at, over 3,600 for the week now. And I got another 9 or 10.
Don't focus too much. Look, you got to get trained, right? We've been on calls where, right, I love to tell y'all, this one call, if this is your one training call a week, like that's not enough. Okay. You are not going to make 200 grand this year on your personal pin if you are relying for this one call once a week to get you there. Okay. This is doctor money. You don't have to go pay doctor schooling funds, but you got to do doctor time. Right. And that means you got to go get trained. Right? Like you got to listen to SoundCloud audios daily, right? Like you got to do a whole bunch of stuff to get better at your craft. You cannot rely on this one call, right? Like I wish Amber we were that great, because then that means we'd have a whole bunch of great, amazing producers. But if you are if this is on your schedule and this is the only thing that you do once a week for 1 hour, right? And then you don't even take notes, right? Like I don't know how you think you're going to get better at this, right? You can sit there and complain, right? Or do something about it. You got to get yourself trained. You got to, right? But the lesson there is that can't be the only thing you're doing. You have to be running appointments so that you can get better, right? You can absorb all the information, but until you, right? So baseball analogy, right? Like they can teach you all these techniques, how to stand, how to do this, right? But until you start swinging that bat and trying to hit that ball, all the techniques and stuff that you learned are great, but you got to go put in the practice as well, right? It's a combination of those things. And that's how we love to teach keeping it simple, right? Because too many times you just don't have the numbers on your side, right? And you overcomplicate. And that's what I mean by, right, you don't keep it simple because you're trying to do something that's not going to work, right? The system is very simple, right? Jump on training calls and get better, but you got to have the numbers, right? I don't care how good you train yourself. If you don't put up those numbers, it's never going to math out. Like you got to have the sits and you have to, right? The symmetry, those are symmetry numbers, right? That means out of thousands of agents, on average, we have a 50% close rate, right? Now you can be on the top tier, you can be on the lower tier. Here, I've been here for 7 years. I'm on the lower side. So I just put more numbers on my side and I win every single week. Listen to that. I win every single week because I just make sure the numbers are on my side. Has nothing to do with how good I am. In fact, I could run really bad appointments. In fact, in January, I was running really bad appointments live in front of Amber and Nate. And they're like, this is so not fair because I was writing so many applications. But I was sitting with like 5 families a day. Right? Like you're going to fall into the people that just want this coverage. Those are the beautiful ones, right? And then you're going to fall into the ones that, hey, you do need to get a little bit better so you can help that family, right? That's where you become a $10,000 a month producer if you just have the numbers on your side. But you want to get to 15, 20K, then you have to improve your skill.
And one of the easiest things to do that when you told me this, Joe, I was like, I don't have to do this every day. But after every single appointment, call your upline. Talk about it. Even if you're just like, I sucked. But call your upline and talk about it because that's the only way you can get those feelings out. And if there was something you could have done better, then that's the opportunity for them to coach you. But even just talking about it, even when you get apps like, hey, this is a great appointment. I got them this coverage. Great. Let us celebrate you. Hey, awesome job. Now go kick some butt and do it again.
Right. And where that works so well, right, is doing it in the workroom, right? Like, let me see. There's 82 of y'all on this call right now. There is never, listen to what I'm saying here. Okay. I'm trying to help y'all keep it so simple. There, Roger, you're in the workroom every day. There is never 82 people in the workroom. So if you right now are like, hey, I don't write 15,000 a month. Are you in the workroom? Because that's how simple it is. I hate it. The numbers are the numbers, Roger. But if we're in the workroom running a live appointment, holy crap, we have a way higher close rate. If we are dialing in the workroom, holy cow, we're booking way more appointments. So I want y'all to just look at yourself, right? And just say, hey, I'm never on the leaderboards, or I'm not on the leaderboards, or I'm not consistently writing 5,000. Are you in the workroom? Because that's one of the biggest things to keep it so simple. Let me tell you, Roger Gates, dude, I love you, buddy. Like you came in here brand new, $20,000, $30,000 months. You know where he's at every single day, all day? Somebody guess, please. In the workroom. Because he's not trying to figure this out by himself, right? And it keeps you accountable. It helps you. I promise you, right? Like we looked at, in fact, the training that we're going to do at conference, right? a training we're going to do, it directly connects our top APVers to hours clocked in the workroom. How much simple do I have to make it for you, right? Like it directly connects my top earners, and this is the whole cook hierarchy. It directly connects the top earners to folks working in the workroom. You don't have to be unmuted. You just got to be working in the workroom because you're not trying to figure it out by yourself, right? Like Amber, how hard was it before the workroom when you needed help in an appointment and you had to text me and randomly wait till I text back?
Yeah.
Versus right now, you just unmute and say, hey, Joe. Right? Like how much simpler can we make it for y'all, right? Y'all just got to plug in. Yes. And that's a great thing. It's camera on. It ain't camera off. Because camera on means you just jumped in here and you turned off your camera and you walked out because you're not paying attention. Here's the crazy part, Amber. I love to always remind myself this. When I worked anywhere else, I worked in front of everyone else. Right? Like you were hiding? No. Like you were at a job, right? Everyone, the customer saw you working, your coworker saw you working, and most importantly, the manager can watch you working. Right? You want to know why you had great work ethic? Because there was a manager watching you, right? Here's the thing. Human beings are only going to do what we're obligated to do. Okay? It's very rare, right, to say, hey, I go above and beyond outside of that with no one telling me to do. Normal folks, and I'm a normal folk, right, only do what we're obligated to do, right? We want to keep it simple. So if you're not allowing yourself to have that at least control, right, like I just challenge you to put yourself there, right? Every top producer we have helped, right? Like Cody's a great example. He's like, what do I got to do? I'm like, dude, just dial live, right? Or dial while you're in the workroom, ask for help, run live appointments, run appointments. You don't even have to unmute. You just got to run a point. He just became our latest top producer.
And I love that too, right? Cody, we can be doing our own thing dialing and he'll just randomly be in an appointment, share his screen because he needs help with a question. I'm like, oh, great.
All the time.
Let's do it. And then it's easier to help that way instead of calling somebody and they might not answer.
Right. Here, I challenge y'all with the numbers. Right? How many of y'all, no one has to raise their hand here, but I want to just challenge y'all with this information. Okay? How many of y'all are not a top producer and you've been here longer than Cody? Go clock your hours and clock Cody's hours in the workroom, and I'm just willing to bet he outclocks you there. It is that simple. You just have to understand the numbers and make it. I promise you, it's annoyingly simple, and we overcomplicate it. If you are working, you should be working here, right? This is our big office, right? And again, I want y'all to challenge y'all. So there's 83 people now on this call. I am surprised when we go into the workrooms and there's 20, right? 60 of y'all ain't going to make the leaderboards this week. That's all I can tell you. Right, Roger? Like I'm sorry, right? Like I love to keep the numbers in front of you because this business is simple. Is it easy? Absolutely not. It takes dials, concentration, reading a book, because you got to have the mentality to get 90% no's and 10% yeses, right? It is not easy. It is very simple if you keep it simple and you keep the numbers on your sides, right? I can't repeat this enough. You got to be able to sit with 10 to 12 families a week. If you are a full-time agent, that is your one mission. Right? Yes, we love the 200 dial club, but all that is to train you to get, right, the 10 to 12 sits. Okay. And you know, I've been really trying to preach I want y'all to remember this, right? So it takes, I think Jim Larson said this on the national call not too long ago, right? Like you got to get your business to jump up, right? You can't do maintain work. And
yeah,
I want y'all to.
I think it was if you want growth, then you have to do growth work ethic. If you want maintenance, you just do maintenance work ethic.
Right. And I want you to really understand that, right? Because it goes back to hey, if you want what you've been getting, just keep doing what you've been doing. Right. So if you are working the same hours from last week, if you are dialing around the same dials, right, and 100, 200 more from last week is not impressive. Okay. So if you're doing the same thing you did last week, you invest in the same leads and you have the same amount of booked appointments, why do you think this week would be better? Right? You're doing the exact same thing. It takes effort, right, to start that momentum, right? You got to push it so that you can get there. And so I want y'all to understand this, right? So that means this week I have to do a lot more just to get the momentum I want, right? Because you cannot do maintenance work, right? Maintenance work is I'm going to do the same thing, right? I love the deposits I'm getting this week, and I'm going to do the same thing, right? So if you love the deposits you had last week, just do what you did last week. I'm not even happy with the deposits I had last week. I want more, so I'm going to go do more, right? And just understand that you are the only person in charge of your business when it comes to that aspect, because guess what? We act like owners because we own it. I fell in love with that process, right? And those core values that no one controlled my income, right? Like you are the only person that controls that. And for me, it has been a beautiful thing. I love to tell everyone the story, right? Of I remember it in my W-2. I was a restaurant manager. I was making $100K. It was okay. And I remember, Roger, my truck broke down. And I remember this conversation with my wife, and I hated it after I said it. I said 1, 2, 3, in 3 paychecks we can pay to get it fixed. Because I was a salaried manager and there was nothing I can do to make my paycheck bigger at that point. And then my server walked in that next week, that same Friday, Amber, and they're like, hey, can I pick up 2 more shifts so I can make some extra money because I want to go on vacation or something like that? I'm like, I'm in the wrong place here. Right. And here we have the ability to just go dial more, invest more, put the numbers better on your side. Right. Y'all want to know how we have a $20,000 week? I just book 10 appointments every single day. The numbers are on my side, right? Of writing 15 applications now for the week. And I keep it that simple. I want y'all to just understand those numbers. And please, I challenge all of y'all to keep the numbers on your side, to keep it simple. And then keep it simple as work in the workroom. I promise you, do you know why you don't? Because you don't like your results. That's the only reason. Because look, all of y'all, the 82, 83 of y'all have made the decision of, hey, I want to get better, so I'm going to get on the production call. Okay. One of the tips, right, that I asked y'all to write down at the beginning of the call, I said, hey, get 2 or 3 things and go apply it to your business, and I hope it helps. One of the biggest tips I'm giving y'all is work in the workroom, right? So that means every 82 of y'all should have that written down. Hey, I should work in the workroom. So there should literally be 82 of us, maybe a few less, right, in the workroom after this call working. I promise you, the numbers are insane. We just watch APV get dropped. And here, it's not going to happen in a day, in 2 days, in 2 weeks. It's going to take time. Right? Because now you're doing the right activity, and it's just going to take you some time, right? You just can't give up 5 days. I was in the workroom 5 days, Joe, and nada.
Great. You just got started. Keep going.
Yeah, you just got started, right? Like put the numbers on your favor. I promise you it works. Anything else, James, Amber, on keeping it simple, keeping the numbers where they need to be?
I mean, that's good. I know there was a comment in the chat about some SoundClouds. I highly suggest In the Home by Ashley Tarr. And then if you're working like the B leads or the bonus leads, definitely working older leads. I think that's Sarah Pappas that does that one. So those are 2 that I recommend as far as like additional training.
Here's the cool part, because I love to recommend, but here's the really cool part with SoundCloud. Whatever you're having a problem with, you can literally put In the Home, call-in leads, working older leads, booking appointments, locking it down. There's that many trainings that when you put in what you want to work on, there's several trainings on that subject, on booking appointments, locking it down, tying it down, show rate, in the appointment, overcoming objections, the why, building emotional labor. I mean, there's thousands of trainings from Symmetry already created. All you got to do is go type it in. and you're going to have that training for y'all. So I love it. Running live appointments. So here, I love that you put that, Jen. Here's the thing where I think so many agents get so mistaken. Y'all think you need to hear us run appointments. That's like you saying, hey, I'm going to learn how to ride a bike, Joe, by you riding the bike. Nope. It is y'all running. You are the one that needs to run a live appointment so that we can hear you and help you. Think about what y'all are saying, right? Like, hey, I need man, I wish Amber, could you please run a live appointment? Or, hey, I wish I can hear Jordan run a, we're not the ones that need it. You're the one that needs it. We need to hear you run a live appointment.
And that's the best appointment you'll run that you're capable.
Oh my God, the best. The best, because you're gonna be nervous. You're gonna be. In fact, I think almost every new agent that runs a live appointment with us, right, in any one of the workroom, usually gets the app on that one. And it's just because you were reading the script and you ran the best appointment you had ever ran. It works insanely well. I probably, again, right. These are the tips that y'all should be writing down because it works so well. I promise there's no magic. We're not doing anything special. Just read the script in front of somebody and be like, and that way we can say, hey, you know what? You use the word die a lot. Maybe tone that a little bit, right? I've heard an agent say, hey, yeah, so if you die, we're going to get you covered. And if you die, I'm like, yeah, let's, right? That got a little weird, right? But guess what? We can't coach you or help you if we don't hear you. Right? You have to allow, and here's the thing. If you record yourself, you want me to go spend an hour of my time listening to you? Well, why not just do it in the workroom? Right? So that others and all of us can hear you running appointments. Right? That's just my challenge to y'all because I promise you it works insanely well. Next time, right? And here, I love facts and numbers. The next time, right? And this could be today. If y'all doubt any of the numbers I gave y'all, just sneak into the workroom later today, tomorrow, and Saturday, and watch who posts on band APV. I guarantee you it's those folks. Guarantee you it's those folks. I promise. There's no science, right? Like it's just we're working the numbers and keeping it simple. Elizabeth, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a question for you. I have an appointment this morning that I booked last night towards the end of my dial session. And we were having trouble getting her and her husband on together because of them having opposite schedules. I just tried to rebook it this morning, waiting to hear back from her. I don't think I used strong enough language. I wasn't the doctor. I didn't tell her what we were doing. I asked her, would you like to rebook instead? And so I'm waiting to hear back. How would you handle that situation to make it a stronger appointment so that I'm not running a one leg with her and having to reschedule to get that app written? Does that question make sense?
I think you answered your own question.
What would you do?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What would you do?
I'm not sure how to handle it because the first text I sent her was kind of giving her the option. I don't know if it would be appropriate now to send a follow-up text and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and reschedule this to next Saturday. What time works for you?
So there you go. There's your answer.
You would do that?
Yep. Y'all
Okay,
have the answers,
cool.
right? Y'all just a little nervous.
I didn't want to potentially blow up the appointment altogether by handling it incorrectly.
You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person.
Got it.
Right? Y'all don't have that appointment problem, right? You have more appointment problem. You need more appointments, right? That one's going to say yes or no, and that's it. On to the next.
Can I just kind of snowball off of that real quick?
Sure. You got 5 seconds. I know you talk.
Okay. So I had that appointment because the guy I had the appointment with, he was in Arizona, but his daughter lived in a different state. So what I said, and he was didn't want to Zoom call. He's not very tech savvy. So I said we can do it over the phone. Let your daughter know that I'm gonna call her, and also give me her phone number just so I can say hi. And then I had my personal cell phone with me at the appointment. So I had her on my cell phone and him on the switchboard on my computer. So that's how I ran the appointment. I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, or like what's your opinion on that?
So are you asking us, that was your appointment?
Yeah.
Right? Again, right? It doesn't matter what y'all are busy thinking about one appointment,
Okay.
right? Like who cares?
Okay. Okay. I
And I
just
know
didn't know
that
if
breaks
that was
y'all's
like
heart a lot,
a,
right? But
yeah, I
who
didn't know if that
cares?
was like a good
Go get more
method or
appointments,
like,
right? If they wanted it, you would have written it. I don't care how bad. Y'all understand? I have ran 4-hour appointments. I have
yeah.
filled out bad social security. I have had to switch their names. I've had to change products. Like do not get stuck. In fact, we will spend so much energy trying to find out what I should have done versus go find me a new client and write that one.
Well, I'm in the middle of rescheduling him, so fingers crossed. But that's my
10%.
question.
That's all I'm going to tell you. 10%. I hope you know that number. If you
Okay.
sat with him, it's 10%. You're going to write them. Fall in love with the numbers and keep them on your side, right? Like don't focus so much on one appointment. Focus on putting the numbers on your side, right? Like, and here I'm just loving on y'all. I mean, you don't have a problem with that appointment, right? Just go find more because they're gonna say yes. Our leads are so good. They're gonna say yes. I promise you. You just need to get in front of them. You usually have an activity problem and a booking problem. That is all it is. You can't mess them up, right? Because you're gonna get to think about it and they're all gonna fall into whatever percentage bucket they do. You just need a term I used to use when we're just running in the field was they're not going to outrun me. And just think of that, right? The client is not going to outrun me. My dad told me this. I remember when I was like 15 driving, and he goes, "This is like a road runner and coyote game, right? Like your job is not to get caught by the police driving, right? So do what you need to do, and that way they never pull you over." And it's the same thing here, right? Like the game here is you got to go chase down the client. Their job is to outrun you. How they outrun you is done by, I don't want this. I don't know what you're talking about. Call me later. I'm going to think about it. Blah, 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 blah. All it doesn't matter. Keep it simple. Go book 6 more for tomorrow, and then you're going to write a policy. Right. And when they start moving, right, because we've taught y'all the touches, right? When your 6 or 8 for tomorrow are on their second touch or their third rebook or their fourth rebook, guess what? Now you're catching them. And that's what you got to fall in love with, right? Like keep it so simple. You don't have an objection problem. You don't have I should have said this, or I couldn't get them on 2 Zooms. And but guess what? We get those too. You know what I tell them? I'm like, hey, so tomorrow at 3:00, is that going to work for you? Yes or no? Okay, great. So if not, is it Thursday? Hey, it doesn't. Okay, great. I don't book out that far. So I'll just call you next week and we'll go from there. Bye. Right. I'm not trying to figure out a situation. I'm looking for the folks that our leads are too good. Kevin, our leads are too good, buddy. Right. Like these folks want the coverage. You just got to go find them. I promise you, they'll sit with you. And here, show of hands, how many of y'all have written an application? So many of you, right? Weren't they the easiest appointments? They were like, yes, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I want y'all to think about that. You just got to go find more of those, right? You're too busy concerned about, well, this one said no, and then this happened, and this. No. They will show up. You can run it over the phone. You can run it over smoke signals. You can run it over however you want. They're still going to say yes. Right? You just want the odds on your side. And the odds is running a Zoom appointment, running it in the workroom, prepping for it, asking for help, doing the water trick. And in the appointment, if you have to pivot, call your upline. Those are the shortcuts. Those increase your show rate. Every single time you don't do that, you're just dropping your percentage. And it's okay, right? Because some folks don't let you. Right? Like you said, right? Like they're forcing me to go, okay, great. Just know it's now a 30% close rate versus a 60% close rate. It ain't your fault. It was just that one. right? It's that one client that you call me like, well, I can't get the husband and wife to get. Guess what? We all get those. Who cares? On to the next. Book it. Don't book it. That's on you. It falls into your numbers. That's it. Fall in love with the numbers. Keep this business simple. I promise you, keep this business simple with the numbers on your side. And it's insane of how much it works. Jason?
Yeah, what's the water trick?
We'll teach
New
you.
guy here.
We'll teach you. We'll teach you.
There's also the production
sounds
call.
good.
The call from about 2 weeks ago, we went over the 10 steps and the water trick. We go over that in there too. So take a look in band and find that and rewatch that recording.
Yeah, Amber posted it. So look for Amber. Okay. Anything on keeping it simple before we move to the next subject? Please unmute, ask the question, as long as it's topic related. All right. Bigger APV. This is such a good one too, right? So I had a problem when I started. I was writing a whole bunch of apps, but my APV was small. There's two main things with that. The first thing was I was thinking with my wallet, right? I was like, one, I didn't believe in insurance, right? I believe in life insurance now because I'm in the business and I understand it, but I'm still not an insurance person, right? Like right when I'm at the store and they're like, do you want the warranty? Do you want this and that? I'm like, no, I'll just go buy another one later, right? Like that. I just don't believe in that. Versus my brother, y'all want customers like my brother. I promise. He buys all the insurance and all the warranty. In fact, he just got a set of tires and got the warranty. He's like, I got right. My brother's the easy one. He'll be at Walmart. He buys my kid a little water gun that, hey, you want the warranty for $2? Yeah. Let's do that. Right? Like you will sell my brother on warranty and insurance. Those are the folks you're looking for. I want to remind y'all. Right? Like I'm the one that's going to give you the think about it. I would never tell you yes in your first appointment. I'm amazed of how many people tell me yes.
When I bought my first house, I bought the Kirby vacuum. I bought the pest control when they came to my house. I got the water softener, top of the line. I got when I got my first house.
You want more Jameses. That's all it is, right? Go find them and go sit with them. Right? And then that's where you learn how to make an impact over APV. I was busy trying to be like, I wouldn't pay $150, right? But they say the average is about 70, right? So it was amazing. Y'all got to understand that. I want y'all to understand this concept. How many of y'all think you sell small policies? Raise your hands. How many of y'all think you sell small policies? Who put the options together to show them? I want y'all to think about that. Guess what? They picked the options you showed them.
Joe did.
Yeah, Joe did. Right? But y'all understand that concept? Like they are buying what you show them. Right? And then are you using, right? It's how you present it, right, to the client. Because are you saying, hey, well, option one, that's pretty expensive. You've already planted the seed and telling them that's probably not the one you want to do because
Joe,
your own mindsets.
We've heard agents say, this one's a bit more pricey, but it does this for you. This one might be a little out of your budget. Expensive is subjective. It's different for every person. Don't tell them what's outside of their budget. Just tell them the options they qualify for.
And when you understand that, what she just said, then you have to understand this. I heard this at a training and it was really cool. So if you go into anybody's house, there's always something that's out of their price range, but that's what they like. You go into somebody's house, they may have the biggest TV, sound system and all crazy stuff, right? And then everything else is a little bit less, right? Or you go to their garage and they have, right, these really expensive cars and parts and right, because that's where they like to put their money. People are passionate about what they want and like, right? Because that's what, so everyone will spend money. It doesn't have a price anymore. And I want y'all to think about this. It's because that doesn't have a price anymore for them. They love it. It's their passion. There is no price. And when you run a really good appointment here, the price goes away. Because we're talking about their loved ones. We're talking about their largest investment that they've done in a long time, right? Buying a new home or protecting the love of their life or I would do anything for my kids. Do y'all really think there is a $200 price tag a month on my kids? I want y'all to think about that. Do you really think there's a $150 price tag a month on my wife? Why would you think your client has a price tag on their loved ones? There is no price. Now here, there is a budget, right? So your job is just to impact that family. You have to run a really good FIF, right? And I'm not talking about the reset. I'm talking about their financial information form. You cannot, right? Like, look, we prep, right? I know we prep, but you got to be ready to pivot and listen in the appointment, right? We just prep you so that you can have a good idea of where you got to head, right? And you're going to have the options of the average policy that we sell. But when you run a really good appointment, you get to hear that now you just uncovered it's their house that they've had for 30 years and they want their kids to stay in the home, right? They took out a HELOC or they did, right? They got a line of credit on their house and now they just put what they value the most on the line. There is no price tag on that, I promise you, if you remind them of it, right? So you have to impact over income, right? Impact over APV. Yes, we help you prep, but you got to be able to listen to them and they telling you things, right, of what's important to them. You got to run or just follow the script. The script. Oh my God. Shout outs to Paul if he's on this call. Paul runs the best. James, I'm taking that away from you. James, I used to say James used to run one of the best appointments I've ever heard. Paul.
No, he does. He literally reads
holy
the script
cow.
word for word.
Paul runs the best appointment I have ever heard. Like the way he says it, his tone, and he's just reading the script. He's not saying anything special. He's literally reading word for word of the script, but just the way he says it, because he has now understood that is the simple, right? He's not trying to sell it Paul's way. He's just reading the script and now he's just consisting at it. He got what, $3,000 yesterday or something like that?
Yes,
like, right, buddy, right? It's uncovering, and I loved it because yesterday, Paul, you talked about, right, like he just got really real with them, right? He may have used some curse words here and there because he built a really good relationship. It was hilarious. I'm gonna put you on the spot. But he got to the point where he was able to tell the husband, if you're gone, dude, your wife is blanked. Price went out the door. There is no more price. At that point, it's like, Paul, you know my budget. Get me something that I can protect my wife with.
That's literally what it was. 1,000%.
That's all it is, right? You have to uncover their need. I challenge y'all to think this way, not on price. Do your kids have a price tag a month? And does your spouse have a price tag a month? Because that's what you're telling me when you go out and you're like, I'm going to show them $60 because $150 a month for Sandra? No. That's what you're telling me.
There are some people who do not have it in their budget, and that's a different story.
Correct, right? Your job is to uncover their budget. Remember, our job is not to pay off their entire house. Our job is to find them the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium based on their budget, age, and health.
And
that's it.
If you feel like you're not doing that, ask yourself, are you solving their problem or are you just selling them on a product?
Right. And I love that you said that, right? Product over what it does. Okay. I almost never tell the client who the carrier is. They don't know what policy, how many years. I don't explain that until the very end when I'm closing down the appointment, because I am not selling product. I'm not telling them, hey, this is Mutual of Omaha and it's a term policy and it has living benefits, terminal, chronic. Like my direct agents get so disappointed when they call me. Look, Robin's laughing. When they call me and they're like, hey, so does Mutual of Omaha, does it have this and this on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not selling a product. I'm selling a solution, or I'm not even selling, I'm consulting them on their best solution based on what we uncovered in the appointment. I don't know anything. Literally, y'all will be so disappointed when you call me and ask me about a policy. Chris Cook taught me the only thing I need to know, right? Because when a client tells you, hey, can you email me the brochure and this? I'm like, well, there's not really, look, it's pretty simple. You die, it pays. And it costs this much a month. 3 things. It's the only thing they need to know, and it's the only thing you need to know. Everything else is just a little benefit. And it doesn't matter. I promise you, it doesn't matter. If you still think it matters, you're still stuck on product versus solution. I challenge you to open your mind. If you think it matters, you still haven't got what we do. Think about what I told y'all. My kids do not have a $50 a month price tag, Roger. Sandra does not have a $250 price tag on her a month. I challenge y'all to think that way. You'll be amazed of how y'all want to know how we write $8,000, $4,000 apps. We just really good of saying, hey, based on this, if you pass away, John, Mary, like, what do y'all have in place right now? Well, we've never even thought about this, Joe. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad we're here today. So let's think about it, right? We get paid for the most uncomfortable conversations. I want y'all to understand that. The more uncomfortable. Go.
In the appointment, when you're going through the FIF, if they already have life insurance, name that puppy. Hey, what did you get that $20,000 policy for?
I love that, right? Again, right? Who do you want as a client, me or James? James, right? Do you know what James has already? Warranties, insurance, coverages, right? It's like you want them to have life insurance. Do you know when you walk into an appointment and they have life insurance, do you know what that family believes in? What we sell. They already believe in the product. It's in your head saying, oh, they got $1 million policy. Now I can't sell them a $200,000 mortgage. No, what are you talking about? They love this stuff. It's like walking into somebody that has a whole bunch of baseball cards and you sell baseball cards. Guess what? They want another one. Again, James bought insurance at Walmart for my kid's water gun. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of, Roger. He got. My kids broke it like the next day and they never got the one. It's hilarious, right? But I challenge y'all to think that way, right? Like they want this product, and the minute you start to really understand what we do, holy cow, your APV shoot, because there is no price. I promise you, there's a budget, right? Guess what? Based on their budget, yeah, sometimes you're going to help a family with a $20 app because that's their budget. But many times you're going to find a lot bigger APV, and it's not even APV. I want y'all to, I'll challenge y'all to think of this. They're just putting as much coverage in place that they need for their family. You didn't get a big APV app. You just put the coverage that they needed in place. Because if the application is bigger, that means they just needed that much more coverage because they were sick. So it costs more. So they need it more because there's a higher risk of that person passing away. That means they need more because the monthly mortgage payment is higher than normal, right? It's $2,000, $3,000. That means they need more coverage. You didn't go get more APV. You put better coverage in place. And that's what y'all got to think about, right? It's not APV. It's putting the right coverage in place for that family. If you only write small apps, it means you're only selling on price and product, right? And that, again, it takes time. Start having these conversations with the families and really listening to them. And here's one of the biggest things. I hate my budget, Amber. I pay over $1,000 a month now in life insurance. And that may be one of the biggest understatements of my budget, right? But because I now believe in this, there can't be enough. It's the greatest investment ever. You're telling me in 20, 30 years, if I paid 30 grand, 40 grand, whatever it is, you're going to give my family $500,000? Like, great, it's better than the lottery. It's guaranteed if I die.
Yeah. And shopping with your wallet too, right? Like you might have the numbers ready for a bigger app, but what is your face saying? Is your face telling the client, "Ooh, this is expensive"? Your voice might be saying, "Hey, it's just $350 a month for your 9 months of mortgage protection." Is your face saying, "Oh my God, that's $350 a month"? Or is your face excited because you have options that they qualify for? Our
So
face,
good.
I'm guilty of that. My face says a lot before my mouth does. So be mindful of what your face is saying and your mouth isn't.
Yep. Again, we have one of the coolest jobs. We put something in place on one of their worst days of their life. And I really want y'all, right? When you think APV, I really want y'all to think of this. Is there really a price tag on somebody's family member? Because that's what you're telling them and yourself when you're telling me that they can't afford 152. They will figure it out. I promise you, they will figure it out because you've uncovered a hole in their plan, right? That if something happens, there's nothing in place. And guess what? The reason we have a 50% close rate is because you're going to fall into the families that have things in place. And it's okay, right? I sit with so many families, both husband and wife work or they have retirements that none of the other, right? They can both afford the mortgage. They're not a mortgage protection client. They liked it. They saw the concept. They called. We ran an appointment. I tell them, I'm like, hey, at this point, you know, John, Mary, either one of you die, you both make $5,000. It only costs $3,500 to maintain your home. Like, y'all are both good, right? At this point, it's a luxury, right? If one of you pass away, do you want it? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes, most of the time, they say no. You know what? No. We've been working hard, Joe, to be in this position. We paid off all our debts, and we bought our home, and we both make really good income, and we both made sure, right, we have this and this. I'm like, sweet. Hey, guess what? I can help with life insurance, final expense, burial costs, right, or FIF them. On to the next. Again, you don't have an appointment problem. You just need to have more appointments to go help somebody, right? So I hope this call really, right, puts into perspective of keeping it simple. It is not easy. Right? It is not easy to have 6 appointments for tomorrow. That's usually where we're failing. I promise. You just need to go fight, right? It's hard, but you need 6 appointments for tomorrow if you want to make this work. If you want to be a full-time agent, right? Stretch it out to whatever you do. We had an agent that was retired, James, right? He just wanted to make $1,000 a month to play with his grandkids, right? So get the numbers that you want out of it. It's beautiful. It's the coolest thing to work the system to your side, right? But just if you have an income goal, make sure the numbers are on your side, because if not, it's not fair. And here, I want y'all to hear this. It's not fair for you to judge yourself on your appointment, on the week. You just didn't have the numbers to make that fair, right? Because if you sat with 5, I wouldn't even coach you on for the week. I wouldn't even coach you. I didn't even care what you did in your appointments. You didn't have the appointments it doesn't matter. The numbers are not fair, right? To even, right, kind of go through them. So I hope this call makes it super simple. You need 6 appointments for tomorrow.
With one quote that
Yeah,
changed my business. It's from Jim Larson. Instead of making sure that failing isn't your fault, make sure that winning is your responsibility. So go win and book 6 appointments for tomorrow.
Love that.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
That was mic drop, Elizabeth.
I'm sorry. I have like a 2-second question because I missed it. You said what are the 3 things that we shouldn't tell them on the appointment rather than when we close the app? What are those 3 things?
That we shouldn't?
Or I wrote it down.
So explaining the products. You shouldn't explain products, right? Don't tell them what right? The company, the product, the term, right? Like you shouldn't have to tell. I only explain that at the end, right? Once they've said, yes, that's what I want to make sure, right?
Yeah. So the carriers, the products.
Yeah. Don't put that on y'all slides, right? Don't put they don't know what living promise is, right? Like keep it simple. The slide says mortgage protection, blank, it pays blank. and it costs blank.
Pays blank
it
and
super
costs
simple.
blank.
Yep. So,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. All right, y'all.